is the deep ball, the thing we had 3-4 years ago that was absolutely magical to watch. That requires A, an incredible offensive line, and B, holding on to the ball for longer. He used to be the best quarterback in football when holding on to the ball for 2.5 seconds. Now he's somewhere in the 20s, depending on the metric you go for. Josh Simmons, getting in there, being healthy. The league thinks he's a steal as long as he is healthy and can play in week 1. It seems like it's trending towards health. As long as that happens, everybody's back in position. Mahomes can be Mahomes again.
It's interesting buying him a little bit more time that you're mentioning there. You know, if you think about it, he's been running for his life, right? He was sacked 6 times in last year's Super Bowl despite not facing a single blitz in the game. He's sensing pressure that may not even be there. All right, let's see what they end up doing. It's going to be fun to watch. Coming up, the news of the day. We're back to it. Micah Parsons.
The organization, how he's been treated this offseason, and the fact that he now would like to be traded. He officially made that request today to Stephen Jones, saying that he no longer wants to be in Dallas. And in less than 24 hours, he becomes the second standout NFC East player to request a trade from his team. Of course, Micah Parsons has been looking for a new contract, and in a lengthy statement in which he spelled out a lot that has transpired this offseason, he said he met with Jerry Jones to discuss what he thought was going to be a leadership role that somehow turned into a negotiation in which the Dallas Cowboys felt like they had a deal, but when Micah Parsons had his agent call the Cowboys informed his agent they had a deal, and the agent said, there's no deal. Micah never agreed to anything in writing, never saw any proposal. And so here we are today. There's been no meaningful dialogue all offseason since that time between the two sides. Micah Parsons has heard Jerry Jones' public comments about him getting hurt. He doesn't want to be there anymore. He's officially requested a trade. And in the end, it's just more drama in Dallas.
Yeah, Adam, I want to quickly follow up on what you just brought up there about Micah detailing this interaction between Jerry Jones that then didn't result in an actual deal, wasn't involving his agent. That seems very unprecedented to me, and a little interesting that he would pull the curtain back like that. Do you see anything coming out of that part of this?
Listen, the Dallas Cowboys have a decision to make, and they have not been prone to trade Pro Bowl players before. And if you look at the Dallas Cowboys since Jerry Jones purchased them in 1989, there has been only one instance, Laura, in which they traded a player coming off a Pro Bowl season, and that was safety Thomas Everett back in April of 1994. They traded him to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 4th-round pick. With all due respect to Thomas Everett, who is a superb player for the Dallas Cowboys, he's not Micah Parsons, who's one of 2 players in NFL history to have at least 12 sacks in his first 4 seasons, the other being Reggie White. We are talking about an elite pass rusher, one of the best, if not the best, young defensive talent in the game, who's only 26 years old. Jerry Jones wants to win now, but he's got a problem with his single best player. And now it's up to the Dallas Cowboys to figure out a way out of it, in much the same way the Cleveland Browns had to grapple with Myles Garrett earlier this offseason when he issued his trade request.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that that happened, and then now you see Myles out there just at training camp with the Browns. Adam, stay right there. We're coming back to you on Terry McLaurin, but first, let's get Bill Barnwell's thoughts on this whole situation with Micah Parsons. We have not had you weigh in yet, Bill, so go ahead. What do you think? What's your instant reaction to all this?
Laura, it's not surprising that the Cowboys are waiting until the last possible second, but what makes this so frustrating beyond the Micah Parsons trade request is that from the Cowboys' perspective, this process of waiting until the last second to get deals done not only has not worked or saved them money, it has cost them money and cost them the ability to put that money towards other players outside of the organization. Think back to the Prescott negotiations, the first time he needed a deal. They could have got that deal done for less than $40 million years earlier. Instead, they waited and gave him $40 million and a no-tag clause. They could have got it done maybe for $50 on this last deal. Instead, they waited until the last second and had to pay him $60 million. They waited on C.D. Lamb. They waited on Zeke Elliott. Those deals, if they get done earlier in the cycle, if they get done with better comparables, the Cowboys save money. If the Cowboys do a Micah Parsons deal last year, which Micah Parsons said he was willing to do when the top of the market was much less than it is now, They save $7, $8, $9 million a year. That's money you can put towards other players on your roster. And the Cowboys have not been willing to do that with no real benefit in return beyond upsetting their players and making them feel frustrated. And the part that I find so frustrating about all this, Laura, is think about, we literally talk about the Cowboys. They are a banner franchise. They're the team we probably talk about the most here on ESPN. The teams who trade away young superstar defenders are frankly not the highlights of the NFL. It's the Jets trading away Jamal Adams, the Jags trading away Jalen Ramsey, the Raiders trading away Khalil Mack. Some of the least successful franchises in football are the teams trading those guys away. Every other successful franchise, they are desperate for a player like Micah Parsons. They do whatever they can to make Micah Parsons happy. They do whatever they can to sign him as quickly as possible. And the Cowboys, for some inexplicable reason, think the opposite is the best way to go.
First of all, Bill, we're both wearing brown jackets and you're home. You're the boy that has to change. Bill. Piggybacking off what you said, though, the Cowboys seem to be under the mistaken belief that something is going to happen which never happened in the history of sports, which is the price of a superstar player is going to go down. You should want to run to sign an extension with someone like Micah Parsons, who, as I said, was a quarter of your entire pressure despite missing 4 games last year. It's like my friends who are trying to buy houses and they say, oh, we'll wait until the housing market goes down. Yeah, the housing market will get right to that. It'll start to balance out any second now, irrespective of the fact that it's always going up. That's the price of a pass rusher. It is so easy. That's what's frustrating. It is so easy to come to an agreement with a player like Micah Parsons. Just give him a little bit more than the top pass rusher before him. The market is set. You go out, you give him $42 million. Sure, you do that because he's worth it. The cap always goes up. There's always flexibility. You've seen time and time again how you're able to build a roster when you're able to sign these guys, get cost certainty, and move on. When you're playing the game with franchise tag and 50 options, you're spending a lot of money. The Eagles never do this stuff, and that's why the Eagles have a much better position than the Cowboys.
Bill used the word desperate to describe any team that would want a player like Micah Parsons. You know who's desperate for Micah Parsons? Matt Eberflus, because scheme dependent. This scheme, specific to what Matt Eberflus has run throughout the course of his career, gets pressure with its 4-down linemen. You need dudes up front. That's why it didn't work in Chicago, why Chicago was 30th in pressure percentage the last 3 years, why they were 22nd in blitz percentage. It's antiquated in a lot of respects, but they want to get pressure on the quarterback with their 4-down linemen. What happens when you take away the guy who led your team in sacks, had 22 more first pressures than any other player on the roster last year, and also is pretty good at taking the ball away? 2 forced fumbles. That's number 2 on the team right now because Eric Kendricks is no longer there. The guy right behind Micah Parsons in sacks last year was Chauncey Golston. Where is he? Not on the Dallas Cowboys this year. There are a lot of moving parts. So if I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm going up to Jerry Jones's office right now being like, you can't do this to my defense. We will not be able to get after the quarterback if he is not on this roster.
Yeah, it's a great point. And by the way, today it flipped over to August. It's August 1st for anybody keeping track. September 4th is when the Cowboys kick their season off against the Super Bowl champion winning Eagles. That's going to be here before we know it. All right, we're going to table this and get to more drama. That's in Washington as Terry McLaurin officially requested a trade. We thought this would be the lead of our show, and then Micah Parsons said, I'm going to take care of that. We're going to welcome in John Keim, our Commanders reporter. John, what more can you tell us about everything going on with Terry McLaurin and the team?
All right, Laura, there's 4 things I think that are important to know here. 1, they're not going to trade him. He came out with the trade request yesterday. They have no intention of trading him. I've heard that a number of times over the last few months. They're not going to trade him. Heard it again yesterday before he made this announcement and heard it again today. They're not going to trade him. They feel like they can contend for the Super Bowl. Losing Terry McLaurin does not help that quest. They view this as another bargaining chip for Terry McLaurin's side. A couple weeks ago, he expressed frustration at a press conference. Then he held out. Then he held in. All along, no movement, so this is the latest development. Number 2 is age. That's always been the sticking point for the Commanders. McLaurin turns 30 next month. When the extension would start, he'd be 31. They don't want to pay a 31, 32, 33-year-old a big receiver big money. They're a heavily analytics-based group. The analytics show that receivers start to decline. McLaurin, of course, would counter and say, this is only his 7th year in the NFL. He doesn't have the same wear and tear on his legs as others at his age. The third thing is DK Metcalf's deal. That's the sticking point for McLaurin. Metcalf received a $32.5 million per year deal from the Steelers. McLaurin and Metcalf, same draft class, similar production. The Commanders would counter saying that Metcalf is 2 years younger. And finally, there's precedent. The Commanders don't want to pay what they would view as an above